Bismillah, alhamdulillah. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to talk about applying for scholarships, winning and applying for scholarships today, right? Scholarships, that's free money, money that is yours, you can pocket. Maybe it might be specifically for books, but usually, scholarships are, it's a check. So you can use this to pay for food. When you're in college, use it to pay for, help pay for tuition. Use it to buy books. Use it to buy new shoes. Whatever you need, whatever you want. If you have extra money. So, who gives out scholarships, right? Scholarships, right? So who gives out scholarships? We're looking at companies. There's like for example, the Coca-Cola scholarship, right? You have foundations such as Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, or Posse Foundation. You have universities, right? You can apply for scholarships directly at the university. There's probably other categories we can group those in, but let's stick with that for now. So when we're looking at each of these companies, foundations, universities, right? What do each of these have in common? So, right, they're all made of people. They all will have their own processes. They all will have their own entities. But most importantly, they all have their own mission statement, their own values, right? So a mission statement, a value is something that a company is known for, right? You think of Martin Luther King, equality. I have a dream. That's what we know Martin Luther King for. We look at Malcolm X. What do we know him for? Sincerity, radical change, working with anyone who is against oppression, right? Education, right? These kinds of things. So, for example, another example, Steve Jobs. Think different. Do what you love. Don't accept mediocrity. Only accept greatness. These are just examples of things that are definitely, these are the values of these people. And these are their mission statements, in an extent, right? To an extent. So they're kind of interchangeable. Mission statements, values. You might have one mission statement, for example, Steve Jobs, think different. Where you look at his values are, creativity, letting a product sell itself, being distinctly different, and having extreme levels of, being extreme to the extent that you're not willing to compromise or cut any corners on quality or on vision or talent and product. So those are all values that fitted within Steve Jobs' mission statement of think different, right? So when we're applying for a job or applying for a scholarship, or getting married, etc., we want to make sure that our values match the company values, or in this case, right, if we are applying for scholarship, we want to make sure that our values right. So let's try it a bit better. We want to make sure that our values have a nice overlap with scholarship values. Right? So this is a Venn diagram. Our values have to have a significant overlap with the scholarship committee values, right? With the scholarship foundation or committee values, right? The more we can demonstrate that our values overlap, right? So we need to demonstrate, we need proof about the past, right? For example, if this is a foundation dedicated to humanitarianism, we need to show that in the past we have volunteered, we have sacrificed, we have embodied the spirit of humanitarianism, we have helped others, we have uplifted others, we're people of empathy, right? So that's looking at the past. And then college, what are you going to do with that money in college? How will that money help you to become a better person? How will that scholarship money, how will that foundation and membership and resources of the foundation, how will that help you achieve your long-term goals, right? If it's, again, humanitarian award, right, humanitarian scholarship, is this going to help you, how demonstrate that this is going to help you, and explain how this is going to help you in your college endeavors, how this is going to, the mentorship, how that's going to help you to make more connections in college, how it's going to help you to expand your mind and to, meet the people that will have a great influence on you and help you to really get into a career which is the most fulfilling, right? And then when you're in your career, you're going to always draw back on these experiences and the benefit from this foundation, and maybe one day you'll be a donor, et cetera, et cetera. Just really create a nice story. It should be true. I never advocate, lying on anything. Have a nice, compelling story that shows the mission, the values of this organization, and your mission and your values are almost the same. The more in common they can be, the more identical they can be, right, the better. But there has to be a significant amount of overlap. They don't have to be the same, right? You don't want to be fake and say that your values are exactly the same as this organization's values, right? You want to be authentic, So that's really the main thing. And whatever requirements they might have, say they have a certain GPA, you have to meet that. If they require a recommendation letter or someone to recommend you, a reference, make sure you have that, someone that can really give you a strong reference. But in terms of the essay, you really want to communicate that, say for example you have your thesis, right? As we know, an essay revolves around the thesis. So the thesis, we really want to have a strong hook, right? So in your thesis, in your introductory paragraph, this is like the thesis paragraph, right? So we have a hook, and we have our, 3 reasons, ABC, for example, right? 1, 2, 3, ABC. So, for example, if you're applying for Posse Leadership Scholarship, right? That's what I'm familiar with, right? Posse Leadership Scholarship, Posse Foundation Scholarship, right? They value leadership, they value diversity, they value, making a impact in one's community, and hopefully nationally, and really advocating for those less fortunate, right? Challenging the status quo. So, you can have your topics, your hook, a good hook might be a quote from someone famous. It might be imagery, right? If you want to start off with something upbeat, you can draw on, maybe some spring story, some imagery from spring. Maybe, it was raining, last week. The environment was filled with rain. Or last week, the field was wet from inches of rain. But today, the sun had shone as if it was there to stay. I reflect upon my future, and I realize I am a creature energized by the sun, guided by the North Star, thankful to my Creator. I was a natural born leader. built by my experiences and my volunteer experiences, volunteerism, and work ethic to serve. That is why I'm applying for this scholarship program. So, it can be poetic, it can be, have nice rhetoric in there as well. You can use a quote from someone famous, you can make up your own poetry, your own line, but some imagery to really be compelling, right? You have to be unique. You have to stand out, right? Don't use some cliche quote. No, if you want to use a quote, use something that you can build off of later on in your essay, right? Not just to make a famous, not just to quote somebody, right? It should be relevant as well. So, again, try to really have a compelling introduction, whether that be, a quote from someone famous or someone, maybe not so famous, maybe your parents, someone that you really admire, someone that has made a huge impact on your life, right? One of my mentors, he will always quote his uncle, right? One of the quotes of his uncle was, "Consistency is the fastest pace," which is very true. You build a mansion brick by brick, right? A mountain is but a sum of stones. So, I really like that one. He might not have been famous, but to his nephew, one of my mentors, brilliant man, invaluable man, priceless. He's missed. I miss him. I've never met him, but I miss him. So God rest his soul. So yeah, again, we want to understand, if you're applying for the scholarship, you want to understand, who is the company, right? So once you understand who the company or foundation is, you want to understand what their values are. You want to list out their values, right? Scholarship values, 1, 2, 3. You list out your values, 1, 2, 3. So you want to match your values to the scholarship values, right? Talk about how, make sure you brainstorm, right? So that way, when you can have your thesis, you have your hook, your introductory paragraph, right? Your thesis, you have your nice hook, and you have, your values, 1, 2, 3, basically, right? You want to have these values that are your values, which are in common with the scholarship values, right? You mention them here, 1, 2, 3. And then you can talk about how, this whole program, how this scholarship will help you, talk about how you, in the past, you've demonstrated these values. Talk about how, in college, you will demonstrate these values, how you will take advantage of this scholarship organization's resources, as well as in the future, how you wish to, also, help people. That's important. How you wish to further embody these values in the workforce. How you wish to give back to the foundation that's sponsoring you, etc., etc. And then, of course, you have a strong conclusion, which is basically an inverted thesis, right? Or, just basically the thesis restated again. You could do it either way. Just make sure you summarize your main points. That's pretty much it. I think if you just follow those steps, you should have a pretty strong, compelling essay. Of course, you have to look at things like style, grammatical structure. Make sure that there's a word limit you stick within, varied sentence structure, varied word choice. Compelling language, style. All those things. Sophisticated vocabulary to some extent. Not anything robust and bombastic that's going to be off-putting, but the right word to perfectly describe exactly what you're discussing at that point. So those are all important. That gives you extra points. Proper parallel structure, proper grammar, very important, very important. So all those give you extra points. So really, really compelling language. So really spend time with your essays. Have a professional look over it. I'm here as well. If you would like for me to work with you on any of your essays, feel free. We can discuss what you are writing about, and what you hope to achieve, whether that's scholarship essay, your personal essay, personal statement. I'll be happy to help. So that's a pretty basic, good formula. If you can stick with that, and then just build upon that, that'd be a good foundation for you. God willing, you will be very successful. Thank you.